So let's make sure we actually write this build out properly. Always the most important thing when we're learning a new build is just getting all those details down, right?
Yeah.
So write it. Barracks, Reaper expand, 3rd CC, 6 aliens, 25 build, 2 cyclones. Now, first things first is it should be Reaper, Marine, Reactor, right? We've got to write that down.
Yep.
Have you got your notes open, by the way? Linking that up to you.
I have a document open.
Oh.
Not,
Oh, it's a separate one?
all right, I got yours open now.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got other notes in there, copy paste them over. But definitely, you know, try to put them in here so we can both follow along. But that's so important, is making sure we get that Marine, because that denies scouting as well with the Overlord. One of the big advantages of this one is you get a Marine out. It's also if they do an early Ling run by, you've got a Marine there to help defend with an SCVs, right? If he sneaks something out, so that helps a lot, because you didn't scout at all with your thing. Also, you didn't actually send your Reaper in this game, so why didn't you go in with your Reaper?
It was just more or less to, I didn't want to focus on microing it as much as I was macroing.
Okay.
Because I was still getting new to the build and figuring things out.
Yep. I think that's like an okay reasoning. Obviously, normally, because you're going Barracks Gas, your Reaper's a few seconds earlier, and it's like a really good opportunity, especially if your opponent's what we call a greedy dickhead. Hypersova, shout out to my boy, only building 2 Zerglings. So we could have killed those 2 Zerglings, maybe killed a drone, something like that, being annoying. But you've then gone second gas after the CC, and then a second factory. But I thought we were going back into bio, not mech after this. So what's the second factory for?
For the 2 Cyclones.
I thought you were swapping. I think you were swapping this factory.
Yeah, but I realized they were coming out too slow.
Okay. But it's going to be a completely different build if we do that. So I mean, let's just focus on the. Yeah, I mean, if I don't think we can swap back into bio if we go 2 factory. We can. It's just very awkward. I mean, we can if we just use the factories to build stuff. I think realistically,
I was thinking Widow Mines and getting the Cyclones out fast. So Widow Mines would back up my bio.
Yeah, the thing is, bio is so far down the track, right? So things aren't lining up. So timing is the most important thing in StarCraft. Is we need things to actually line up, right? If we go a second factory, it's just super awkward. I think you can still do this build, but you know what? Let's go 4 Hellions. So first of all, your Hellions were just late this game, right? Your Hellions were just late. But let's go 4 Hellions. And then just swap straight into the Cyclones. And hopefully 4 Hellions and a Reaper can be enough. Because that already is like, well, you don't really want to engage that with Zerglings, especially if you pull the Hellions behind the Cyclones. And we get the Cyclones out at a nice timing. So let's give that one a go. So let's go 4 Hellions and then swap the factory. So let's talk about it. So you get to about 4 minutes. Rather than putting down a second factory, do we want to get a starport? Get out like a Viking or Banshees? Or do we want to maybe just go into the barracks first? Go straight for like, okay, let's go straight for the barracks, double engineering bay, and then add medevacs a bit later on, and just kind of bypass any of the air units.
I'd rather bypass the air.
Okay, so I guess we want to go second and third factory. So that the kind of order is, second and third barracks, and then actually it'd be third command center was part of your plan, right? So we're gonna go third CC, then second and third barracks. Then double engineering bay, and then both gases on your natural. Does that sound right?
Sure.
And then we can add the 4th and 5th barracks last. That's how you always do it. Last 2 reactors. Okay. At least now we kind of know the order, right? So rather than... Oh, wait, because you've already... No, your third CC is super early. Sorry, I had a brain fart there, of course. So after this, about 4 minutes, second and third barracks, maybe a bit earlier. Then double engineering bay, 3rd and 4th. Depot Wolof would be going down about now. Are we missing anything? In this game, you also forgot to rally units down to your natural from your main command center. So your main command center was a little bit oversaturated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once we get the build a little bit more comfortable, things will come together more naturally for you. Yeah. Yeah, so we're kind of like swapping around, and then you stopped into double cyclone. Yeah, this is race car mech essentially. So this is like we definitely we could play full race car mech from here, and it's a good style if we're gonna go to factory. But let's try the original plan you had and just refine that, and we'll go from there. So I'm just gonna look at what happened when you engaged, because I came in just after he'd killed all your stuff and I didn't see the actual surround.
the speedlings surrounded me really fast.
Yeah, you went mega deep on Crete with no idea what we were going up against. So he had a big army. You know, he kind of blind counted. That's probably because he knew what we were doing. That's fine. It's good to practice against someone who happens to have a lot of units. We'll see. Awesome. All right, let's hop into another game here. And this time around, it's going to be Reaper Marine. And then we're going to go straight into this Hellion production nice and early. So it's still third command center at the same time. And that might slow down your first two Hellions slightly. But that should be totally cool because it's only a few seconds at most. All right. Okie doke. Good luck. Have fun. Let's go.
So we're doing third CC before the Hellions?
Yep. They'll come down at almost the exact same time. Like it will naturally be your factories floating over and you've got like 500 minerals. Yeah. It's just the same as you did at last game. It's the exact same thing you did last game. It's just last game your factory didn't swap. That's all. All right. All right. I think this can work out really nicely. 4 Hellions into a couple of Cyclones. Pick off Overlords with it.
Yeah, I sniped his first Overlord with the Cyclones.
Yeah.
He sent out.
And the thing is, like, this is a real macro build. Like, your transition is 6. So this still plays to the strength of what we initially said, of you want to play a little bit more to, like, the later mid-game. So this is going to work out really well. So, yeah, let's get in your groove. Let's kick some ass.
Yeah, I'm trying to focus more on macro since you told me last time I was, like, too heavy with the micro.
I think it'll be good to focus on that. Yeah, like really focus on getting your production down at tight timings because that was the one thing, right? Throughout all your play over the months, it's been like we've never really gotten real comfortable with like bam, plonking 3 barracks down, getting the add-ons down at like in a nice row at a nice time. So this will be really good practice for that. This will be awesome. What's the time to scout a Zerg with a Reaper? To look if I'm getting cheesed or all in. I'm getting all in a lot, and I feel my scouting isn't right. Your Reaper normally goes across the map immediately, Power 8 Floyd. Now, if you're in the lower leagues, there's nothing wrong with sending an SCV scout. What you need to be looking at is your opponent all-inning you on one base, or are they taking a second and even a third, just not building many workers on that natural, and then all-inning you? What time is it hitting you? What units is it hitting you with? And, of course, one of the last questions as a Terran player is, well, are you just executing a proper build order? I've got a few coaching videos on my YouTube you can go look up to do with defending cheese or getting all in. But generally, it's all about just looking at the details. Whenever you're dying to an all-in, lots of small mistakes are happening consistently. Always, 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 always. This is something which is 100% sure. I'm just going to close that Home Story Cup stream in the background because I feel like that's lagging me a little bit. Had that open from earlier. And yeah, basically really pay attention to like exactly what you're looking at. They're more specific, like, and then you can start breaking down. You'll be like, oh, this guy's hit me with 7 roaches at 5 minutes and a flood of Zerglings behind it. Suddenly you can post that question in chat and everyone will answer you. So there's something, a lot of people hop into my Twitch chat or on a forum and they say, oh, I keep dying to rushes, what do I do? And a lot of StarCraft players are super elitist and super involved, so they'll basically just go, I mean, this could mean anything. I don't really know, right? Like, it's a real generic question, so they don't really know how to help you. There we go, reactor, good. So it might feel like no one wants to help you, but the moment you put a bit more detail into your questions, you'd be amazed. People are, like, super helpful. So it's because it also gives them more info about what they're dealing with, you know? Get that third CC down, looking real good. And we're going to swap that factory and barracks around immediately. You're doing really good. Awesome, guys. So, let's turn the in-game sound back on, shall we?
I can't move.
You got to move your screen around. This is why you never just float your factory in front of yourself. You immediately move it to the side. There we go. Come on, lower those depots, dude. Yeah, let's get the tech lab on that barracks as well. Remember, we gotta get that ahead of time. Yeah, doing good. Come on, let's rally down to our natural. Get that second gas down. Queue up another Hellion. So I'm meant to queue up those Hellions in pairs. Yeah. Come on, lower that depot in that wall. Something we should always get rid of.
Your add-on's
looking
done.
good, looking good. So, yeah. So we can go build another tech lab with that barracks. And we're going to swap that factory immediately. So keep building SCVs.
Ready to raise some hell.
That Reaper should have come home a long time ago. Make sure we bring that back. Add that to our Hellion control group. Get those Cyclones pumping. Let's get that third CC in the wall. Cyclones, come on. Cyclones, Cyclones, Cyclones. Oh yeah, you've already got the third CC. Cyclones.
Add-on complete.
Not Hellions, Cyclones.
I misclicked.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Alright, cool. Let's build 2 more barracks when we get a chance here. One on the reactor and another one just whereas.
Is delivered.
Awesome.
Paddle from the west.
Cool.
Bam! An eye for an eye.
So we're gonna go double engineering bay next up.
A dick for a dick.
Because remember, it's second and third barracks, then double engineering bay. Usually we want to put those engineering bays kind of off to the side a bit more, but that's not the end of the world. We want to make sure we build 2 at once though, rather than just one on its own. Let's make sure we're queuing these SCVs to go back to mining afterwards, getting your production on track.
SCV ready. SCV ready.
Let's drop the double gas on your natural as well, remember? It's double barracks, so 3 barracks, 2 engineering bays, and then the double gas on your natural. Now your Cyclones, second Cyclone's gonna pop, so when that's out, we're moving across the map to go pressure. Obviously, when we get better at this build, we're gonna be doing a little bit more Hellion pressure in the lead up to this, but for now, this is looking pretty good. So, control group the Hellion Cyclone, get it across the map. You don't want Marines with this normally, but it's not the end of the world to bring those. This is much more of a mobile comp. Alright, get the double upgrades, the guys on gas, get all your good shit going, keep your depots going, etc, etc. Good luck, have fun. I'm gonna shut up, I'm talking too much. He's making a lot of weird mistakes. That scan made 0 sense. Because his Cyclones weren't
A
even
lot of
there
roaches.
yet. Yep, just pull it back and go macro. Come on.
SCV ready.
Your add-on's done.
He just built a 4th barracks. This is his problems in a nutshell, guys. He always loves to add 1 barracks at a time, no matter how much money he has. Yep, starport is good. Like he doesn't sync up multiple actions enough on his macro, and that's something we really want to kind of get him to do a bit more. The problem with this Cyclone Hellion pressure is it's super APM intensive, but on the plus side, got some shit done.
Add-on complete.
Let's get that armory going. You never got your 5th barracks, so you did that really lazy thing you do where you built 1 barracks. Remember, it's always at least 2 barracks at a time. Otherwise, you have to keep going back and looking at it too often. So let's keep queuing up those depots 2 at a time. Now, you're building depots in 3 different locations. You want to really consolidate that. You want to make sure you're building them all in the same spot. You're stacking up too many actions here because we're not being organized. So let's be more organized, focus on that. That'll help us out. So we need a second factory as well here. And we really just want to be plowing out biotank. Now,
Mineral field
yeah, looking
depleted.
good. So what's one thing we didn't define, guys? Thank you very much for the sub, by the way. Orcs to Fox. Orcs to Fox. Thank you very much for the support. We didn't define when the starport goes down.
Upgrade complete.
We need to do that. When's the starport go down?
No handouts. Make more depots.
So,
You're out of supply. Build more depots.
double engineering
Your
bay
add-on's done.
plus starport, and then 3rd and 4th gases and 4th and 5th barracks. I think that's gonna, yeah, that should time out. That should time out.
Additional supply depots
'Cause
required.
you got to build a reactor on the starport.
Alright,
The
ready
problem
to
is not having
You need more
medevacs yet
supply
just
depots.
sucks. Still hasn't put on
Research
gas.
complete. Additional supply depots required.
Let's stop building SCVs. Let's put guys on gas on the 3rd. And you got lots of money, so you know, keep building a 4th base and all that sort of stuff, and keep powering out crazy amounts of. So we still don't have another reactor on our 5th barracks. Remember, so this is one of these problems we have where we're never adding those. Did we get that armory?
Ready for dust off.
We never added the armory, so yeah.
You want a piece of
So we've got money. We're going 3 bases. We need
need
3
more
more
supply
barracks.
depots.
So we should build 3 more barracks out front somewhere.
You're out of supply. Build more depots.
If we just get 3 more barracks, that'll be our full 3 base
Additional
production.
supply depots required. Our SCVs
Shit.
are under attack.
You borrowed.
This is Hypersova's move. Does this every game. Those Marines should deal with that. And he pulled from the main, so he'll be fine.
Hey, your space construction vehicles are
Yeah,
under
you'll be
attack.
fine. Just
Oh,
build
is
a
that what that
missile
stands
turret
for?
in each base. You really need to clean out your main, so you never went and cleaned your main out. Yeah. And just put your SCVs back to mining. You have a crazy amount of workers, so you just need to split them back up on your bases, continue to produce, continue to add your 2-2 upgrades, and you'll be completely fine. Alright, so get those workers back on mining your different bases. You're looking really good. Keep powering out crazy amounts of Marines and Marauders. You're doing really nice. So here's something. Look at this. He built like a random barracks there. When I said add 3 more barracks, he just went and built 1. That's like the really bad habits he has. It should be barracks, 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 and then later on you come back to it and you go add-on, 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 all at once. These should be single actions. He's so addicted to adding single barracks everywhere. And this is something I keep telling him to not do, and he keeps doing it. And I don't know how to like train it out of him at this point. I'm like, "Urgh," every time he does it, I try to call him out for it. But I think I just need to really talk about it between the game. Because I think that's the number one way I can help get precision here. To be a bit more precise
Hope you have an
with adding his production. Now his tanks aren't on a different control group here.
Additional
It's very sloppy.
Ready to go.
No scanning ahead of his army at all. Roach Hydra Muta. Hypersova. Roach Hydra Muta? What the Muta's for? What was that for? Finish him. I'd actually pull back if I was precision here. Muta's for the lols. Well, don't make fun of this student, Hypersova. Come on, man. So this attack wasn't great. For way out of tank range without the reinforce. Into Roach Hydra, 1-1-1, right before 2-2 finishes. I didn't want to keep talking to him at this point because I wanted to let him just kind of take control. But let's see what he focused on. He's building Reapers right now, which is obviously a misclick. So he still has not put on that gas. So talking about linking up actions, earlier he put guys on that gas, didn't put guys on that gas. Like that should always be hand in hand. Still hasn't put back on gas in the main. He's short on gas. Is he going to realize he's short on gas? Is one of the things I'm also very curious about. Like he's building SCVs right now, but he's got more than enough. So he yeah, there we go. Okay, he's putting guys on gas now. But he's taken a long time to do it. And he's got SCVs still rallied into his main, which is bizarre.
SCV ready.
Queued up SCVs, but then he cancelled them, I think. Or he only built 1 round, which is good.
Your add-on's done.
I just want to see how he gets a handle on this macro.
That mineral field's gone.
Yeah, and he's building extra barracks in his main, so, okay. Linking up actions is the focus.
CC's up.
Never build a single barracks. Always in pairs, or 3s, or 4s. That way, it's a single action to build. A single one to come back and add add-ons. Past your first 5 racks, you need to add 2 to 3 racks later. Always put them out front between your natural and third, so you can easily have them in a row and add add-ons all at once. You wasted
Additional supply depots
a
required.
lot of time looking for space to
Mineral field
squeeze
depleted.
individual
You
racks
need
in
more
your
supply
main,
depots.
and then
Upgrade complete.
forgetting to put add-ons on them.
Ready to roll out.
That field's been mined out. You have an expansion.
The upgrades are so bad, he should be able to beat this with pure Marine if he gets this whole army together. That's the thing though. Can he get his whole army together? His SCV count is so ridiculous. It's way too high. Okay, so he's gonna see there, Roach Hydra Broodlord. He's gonna pull his army home.
Mineral field depleted.
Ooh, those Broodlords are in the open a little, but
That field's been mined out. Hope you have an expansion. You're at max supply.
yeah, I wouldn't just be stimming in like that. Yeah, because none of his tanks are helping in this fight. And his stim ran out and he didn't re-stim, I don't think. Oh, actually, I think he must have re-stimmed. Those units are attacking pretty fast. So he's building... He can still win from here because his economy is so big. But he's got to be building Vikings right now. Has he queued up Vikings? He has not. So what's he... Why is he stimming in here? Should be abandoning the space, gathering his units together. Still no Vikings in production.
We're running.
Yeah, you should be pulling back and gathering. Holding this position is not important, right? So this is something you guys got to learn against Broodlords, is pull back and wait for your units to get out to deal with them. He's just started Vikings now, so a little bit of a slow response there and a really bad initial engagement, but it happens. I don't expect you to be able to handle Broodlords, and even in GM, a lot of players just panic and A-move into them. But yeah, you want to pull back, wait for a few Vikings, and then you can really actually engage them properly. But if he engaged with his tanks shelling the Roach Hydra, his Marines, like, they're going to obliterate the Broodlings. Broodlords on their own don't kill them. The Broodlords combined with the Hydras will beat the Marines on their own. But he could have kind of held this position for a very long time, let this base die, got out a few Vikings, more Marines, and then, you know, overwhelmed this army for sure. The Zerg's always going to extend into siege tank range away from the Broodlords with their ground army. So even now, if he just plumps out a crazy amount of Marines, there is some small chance he does have the upgrade advantage. The Broodlords still do not have any melee upgrades, and they've only got +1 flyer attack. So all they really do is waste the attacking time of the units on the ground. Now, don't get me wrong, Precision should lose here, but let's just see how he goes. There's always a chance. Players make tons of mistakes in StarCraft, even at super high level. The lower you go down the ladder, the more mistakes they make. Zephyr Grant, thanks for the 7-month resub, dude. So once again, we kind of stimmed down a ramp here and a choke point. If you've got the overwhelming numbers and you really sense that, this can be the way to engage. But if you're kind of like, oh shit, you know, I'm not quite ready, I don't quite have the numbers, doing that engage doesn't make sense. Like, these depots are still up. So a kind of bad habit he has is just never lowering his depots when he needs to. So he does come forward and tries to focus fire, and he'll get two Broodlords down. But GG, well played by Hypersova. So this one was a little bit better with the early pressure. Hypersova though built an insane number of units.
SCVs are under attack. Pull the boys.
Off very little early defense. Yep. So those Tunnelclaw Roaches definitely threw us off, but we were doing really, really good. Yeah, good.
Mineral field depleted.
Yeah, he made it sound like he was trying to troll you with the Mutalisks, because he's obviously got the stream on, but probably shouldn't be listening to the stream while you play in case I'm giving stuff away, Hypersova, because that's going to really, you know, obviously warn you of what's going on. But, yeah. That's all good, buddy. Appreciate the help. So anyway, let's step out of this one. So this was nice and helpful because we executed the build a lot better. One thing we didn't have was a starport timing in the build. We realized that, right? Your starport went down really late. Whereas if we had 2 medevacs of bio clearing up creep a lot earlier, it would just give us a bit more presence. When we miss that, oh, it really sucks. So, double engineering bay and starport should go down around the same time. And that way, because you've got to build the reactor on the starport itself, it's going to just allow you to get that out at a much better timing.
Yeah, I made a Ghost Academy, but I forgot to make Ghosts when I knew the Broodlords were going to come.
Yep. And, I mean, we definitely had an opportunity there because his upgrades were very poor. He had no melee upgrades. So, we definitely had an opportunity. But you did panic a little bit. You needed to either commit to counterattacking or fight with your units together. But you kind of, multiple times in this game, you went way away from your siege tanks with your bio. First time after you took that nice engagement in the middle, you then dove on creep and lost your army. Whereas if you'd waited for some more reinforcements, if you'd waited, your 2 upgrades finished right after that fight as well, it would have been a lot better. But that's okay. These are things that we'll fix. What are the most important things though? Well, the little thing we added in there was, when do we add the starport?
Yeah, I think 2 starports would have been good there, because I just didn't have enough ability to pump out medevacs and Vikings.
Well, let's forget the early game. Shake it out of the late game, sorry. Shake the late game out of your mind, because that's not important to us, right? You should have been able to win that game well before Broodlords. So let's ignore that late game. As useful as I agree, an extra starport does help. Ghosts is the easier way to deal with it, to be honest. If we just had more Tech Lab barracks and just built Ghosts, that's actually easier. We definitely also didn't start Viking straight away. So
I had the Ghost Academy too, knowing the Broodlords were going to come, and I just forgot.
Yeah, so and you didn't build Vikings when you saw it either. It was after you'd lost your army that you started building Vikings, like about 2 minutes after you saw the Broodlords. So if we'd waited and just started Vikings straight away, we could have given up a base. Broodlords are very slow to push in. You can deal with it that way. But let's ignore the late game. It's not important. It's solo value. We should have finished that game much earlier. We were in a great position in the mid game. So let's focus on what's important. When does your starport go down? Your first starport with this build?
I would say after the 2nd and 3rd barracks.
Yep, 2nd and 3rd barracks, and double engineering bays and starports go down about the same time. So if you want to go starport, then double engineering bays, that's fine. Write it down in your build order. I've written double engineering bay plus starport after the 2nd and 3rd barracks.
Yep,
but if you want to do it that way, that's totally fine. What's the big problem, though? The big problem is you're not linking up enough actions. So your macro, and this, I was talking to you too much in that last game, so that was distracting you, and I could tell that. But this is something we've seen throughout your players. We're not linking up enough actions. So there's too many times where we're going home and adding a single barracks, and then going back 30 seconds later and adding another single barracks. So we've got to break that habit, because it just is wasting too much of your APM on the macro. We want to make sure when you put down your engineering bay, if you don't have enough money for both, don't even put down one. Always only put down 2 engineering bays at once. Only put down 2 barracks or 3 or 4 barracks at once, because otherwise you're going to forget your add-ons, and this is consistently happening in your games. So I've got the rewind open, and we saw it first of all with just 1 engineering bay going down. We saw it a bit later with your 4th barracks went down. No 5th barracks. You just kind of grabbed the SCV that happened to be standing there from the barracks that finished. We want to always not be lazy with that. We want to be going 2 barracks at the same time. Later on, we needed to add more barracks. You added a single barracks in the corner of your main, and then much later, another single barracks in the corner of your main. So these sort of things are things we need to work on, being much more like link those actions together. When your 3rd base took gases, you took a long time to remember that you'd taken those gases, and when you did remember, you put 2 guys on 1 gas, and then not the other one.
Yeah.
So these things all need to be linked up, and if you can slow yourself down and link these actions up, and it's like, when you put gas on, always put it on both. When you put down a barracks, always put it on both. This is going to save you so much time. So much time. And that's what you're lacking right now, is you just don't have enough actions because we're not organized enough in how we're doing things, right? So we need to really organize things a little bit so that you don't need to keep looking back at stuff and doing it kind of all over the place, which is what's happening at the moment. So that's going to be massive across all our play. The 2nd and 3rd barracks, bam, at the same time. The starport and double engineering bay, bam, at the same time. The 4th and 5th barracks, bam, at the same time. Let's try and really do those actions linked up. Now, once you get to 3 base production, we like to add a couple more barracks, because you've got usually mostly reactors and just 1, or in this game you had 2 tech labs. Was that a reaction because he was on roaches?
Yeah.
Cool, I like it. Let's say we had 3 more barracks as standard. A bit of extra production, right? In case we miss macro, which is pretty common. Those barracks should go where? Because you were struggling to find space for your barracks later in this game. You were building them like stuck in these weird corners of your main base. Where do you think's a good spot for those barracks to go down?
Maybe walling off to my 3rd.
I wouldn't put them in the wall, because then the add-ons are super exposed. But I think between your natural and 3rd is a good space. There's always a good area there. And then if your opponent ever pushes in and is trying to break your natural, it also creates like a little bit of a semi-wall there, which your units can kind of stagger behind a little bit. So it's kind of like a palisade almost. But the most important thing is you've just got a nice open area where you can have them in a neat little row, and you build them all 3 at the exact same time. You come back a minute later, you add 3 tech labs on them. So that's what's important. because what you're doing is you've added a barracks here at 9 minutes in a random corner of your main base, even though you had the money to build more. And then a few minutes later, obviously the roaches distracted you, so it was later than it otherwise would have been. But a few minutes later, you go and you find like another random barracks in a different corner. The first barracks doesn't get an add-on until like 4 or 5 minutes later. Like it takes so long to get an add-on. And then the extra barracks that comes down, I don't know if it ever gets an add-on. Yeah, the add-on was 4 minutes later. The next barracks went down about the same time. Whereas if we just put those 3 barracks down, even if we forget to add the add-ons for a minute, we come back and in 1 moment we add all 3 add-ons. So this is going to make a huge difference for you, man. This is going to be massive. It's going to be huge. So let's hop out of this game. And what are we focusing on? That build was already better. Now he built a ton of roaches, okay? So
yeah. That's why I started transitioning to tanks.
And I mean, that's your standard transition anyway, isn't it? We would normally build a tank or 2 for safety. Like we just do our normal thing. The only difference was we just ran away. We didn't even bother microing. We're like, there's a lot of shit here. Like, you know, you can stay on the map with those units, but we didn't need to do too much of that. And that's totally fine. Now, as you get better at this, obviously you're going to be pressuring earlier with the Hellions. We're giving him a lot of freedom, and Hypersova's being a bit of a greedy boy. He's getting ahead on the drones, then building a big wave of units so we can't even fuck with him. And that's fine. That's happening here in this particular game, this particular situation, because he knows what's happening and stuff. But more important is us getting the build down, right? You can get better at microing that Hellion Cyclone later on. You can get better at that. For now, let's just keep linking up the barracks, the engineering bays, linking up the gases on the natural, and then going back 20 seconds later and putting guys on gas. And you know what? If you happen to realize, oh, I've got to put guys on gas, and you look and they're only halfway done, just put the SCVs on gas straight away. It's more important just to make sure you're linking up your actions, because right now it's not about you trying to be more efficient. It's with like your resources. It's more efficiency in your actions that you're really lacking. So just try to link these things up as best you can. I guarantee you we're going to have huge value. So we're still just working on the macro, and we're really trying to link up actions and spend our money well, not so focused on the harassment. Let's see how it goes. Good luck, have fun, man. That's all I want out of this. Just to link up those actions. Verkwa, thank you so much for the 100 bit here. Extra. Cerealverse Innovation. Alright, 1-1. Thank you very much, dude. Appreciate that. Yeah, I saw, won the first game. Looks like, they're going to have a pretty epic series, dude. I think Innovation could beat him. Like, Innovation just looks so comfortable with just creating Widowmine problems everywhere. I was actually really hoping to watch it on stream, the Home Story Cup finals, and I might catch the last game or so. We'll see how we go. I was hoping to catch it and just talk about it and do like a radio cast. Obviously, you guys would have to open their actual stream. So I will do that in a minute or two, gang. But I say a minute or two. How long have we been on call? So I got to add 5 minutes since I disappeared during the first game. About 10 minutes, guys. So probably just the end of this game, this custom, and then like a very quick talk, and then we'll see how we go. So I'm going to write up a little homework list here now that we've talked about what is the most important. Homework. Better macro focus, and most importantly, efficiency of macro actions. Linking up. Why am I watching the Zerg? Whoops. Linking up actions. So for instance, a really good important thing is 2 barracks at once, queue SCVs home. 2 NG bays at once, queue home. 2 gases at once. Come back to all of the above for upgrades, adding add-ons, or putting on gas a little later. Don't be afraid to put on gas a little early. Always build structures in neat rows so you can easily add add-ons in one location rather than scrolling all over the place. These little structural things are what make Terran fun. If you don't do this stuff, guys, it's the same thing as a Zerg who doesn't have a macro cycle. You spend your whole game like scrolling around trying to catch up on injects and trying to like spend your lava in this never-ending cycle where you feel like you're drowning. And you're just like, I can't spend my money, I can't spend my money. And it feels terrible, dude. It feels so bad. So yeah, this will make a big difference. It's gonna make a real big difference. Up. What up, Game Day? How you doing? What's up, guys in chat? Thanks for hanging out. Hope you're all watching Home Story Cup if you're not already. Have a try at the TVP drilling class opening. I don't know what that is. Young was using it on the stream yesterday. Oh, drilling claws opening. TVP. Oh, I mean, I've done many trolley drilling claws openings in the past. Now that they're actually invisible again, I look forward to trying it again. They're almost always very vulnerable to certain attacks, but if you can get away with it, or you can identify that your opponent's not hitting you with something brutal, it can be really good. Yeah, can be really good. And once you get damage with one wave, especially if they don't play Stargate, they're gonna have a really tough time. Like Blink's decent against it, but it's nowhere near. Like if they get Phoenix out, then they're gonna usually take you to Dicktown when you're doing that build. So you've kind of gotta have some sort of built-in adjustment if you want to be solid. It's a very fun build that can go really well. It's not 100% solid. Zephyr, I'm not sure if I gave you a proper shout out. Thank you so much for the support. Appreciate that 7-month resub, dude.
SCV ready. Ready to raise some hell.
Good job, good job, good job. He's doing good.
SCV ready.
Starts a cyclone. Nice. Orbital should be going down now. Putting on gas should be going down. What's he doing? He's already building barracks.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Alright, just had to pause that for a second there. So what did we just do wrong?
Drop the barracks.
Yep. So tempting, isn't it? You see a reactor there? It's so tempting to do that. But guess what? We haven't put on gas. We haven't started our orbital yet. That's where that money is meant to go right now.
Okay.
I actually want you, just because we need to reinforce this. In the short term, this is efficient. In some of your games, this is efficient. But we want to actually cut that efficiency out so we can develop this other type of APM efficiency. Because that's what you're really lacking. Because at this stage, don't get me wrong, this is more efficient. But it's a bad habit. Because once you get past the 4-minute 30 mark, the 5-minute mark, as your production climbs, you're falling behind in actions and you're drowning because of that. So if we can get rid of that now and make sure we go, okay, cancel the barracks, put that SCV back to mining. Let's go guys on gas, get the orbital. And when you've got 300 minerals, that's when we can go 2 barracks at once. All good? Awesome. Yep. This is going to be such a good habit, man.
Okay, on the count of... Too late, started.
It's just this like compulsive thing he does, and it's so good.
Wait.
Okay, so we just grabbed a stray SCV and we just put a gas down.
Yeah.
Double gas doesn't go down until a little bit later. So this is something, whenever you find a stray SCV, you love doing this. You have this habit of using a stray SCV to build something, and it's good to use the SCVs that are already off mining to build things, don't get me wrong. But that's not part of the build order. Those gases don't go down until after we've got our 2nd and 3rd barracks. So once again, let's really stick to that build order. Yeah, cancel that gas. All you need to do is just grab that SCV. You didn't put a 3rd dude on gas in your main yet. So you can just grab that SCV, tell it to go on that gas, and then remember what's next. It's the 2nd and 3rd barracks when we get 300 minerals, right? So we've got to start up another cyclone, which you've already queued up. 2nd and 3rd barracks. After the 2nd, 3rd barracks, we're going to get starport and double engineering bay, and then we take both gases on our natural. But remember, we're pairing these actions up, all right? Awesome. All right, let's do it.
What about stim?
We can get that a little bit later. Don't worry about it for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry about it for now. We can just let that barracks chill. So after we've got all of our gases in production up, then we can start thinking about stim. That's like way down the road.
Got it.
Okay, back. Did you miss me?
So he's put the guys on gas. Now he's got to go set two barracks. So he should be boxing SCVs. Going barracks. Now, yes, one of them should be on the reactor. That's okay. I'd rather he just build them. It's better. Better to just get that shit done. So, yeah, building another depot. Not bad. Awesome. It's dropping more SCVs and mules. So what should we be doing now, guys? Starport, double engineering base should be going down, right? Yep, starport on its own, that's fine. Doesn't necessarily need to be linked, that's okay. He's going to take the gases before the engineering bays. He's forgotten them, I think. Yeah, we forgot the double engineering base.
Okay.
SCV ready.
Puts him right where his production's meant to go.
SCV ready.
That pisses me off, but at least he's linked them up. Has he queued them back? So you're doing better with all these, but we are forgetting to queue our SCVs back to mining afterwards. So remember, whenever you build these structures, you still queue back the multiple SCVs to mining, okay? So every time, even when we link up these structures, let's put guys on gas on our natural. Let's just keep focusing on the macro. You're doing really good. Yeah, he's this real deep lack of real deep disorganization in his play, which has been hurting him a lot.
SCV ready.
Run! Add-on complete.
Gangway coming through. SCV ready. Ready to roll out. Armed and ready.
Oh my god. How is he not pulled like 5 SCVs to wall off? I would have shat my pants so hard. That's not a wall off. Is it? Oh, actually, okay, it is. It is a wall off. Okay. He placed the bunker properly. It wasn't at first. The first spot he put it definitely wasn't.
You need more depots. Sorry, this is a hard game.
Gangway. Let's have a blast.
Sorry, this is a hard game. I like it. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I don't think the opening's the best in terms of the cyclone pressure, but I do think once he gets better at actually microing his Hellions in the early stages, so Hypersova's not as comfortable, the Zergs aren't as comfortable, like he can make this work for sure. But the more important thing is, yeah, getting used to the macro. Like he just added 3 barracks, which is super random because he's already got 3, so it should really only be 2 barracks, but I'll allow it for now. At least he's adding them all together, and he's queued the SCV. He hasn't queued the SCVs back, but at least he's done that. So I like that he's starting a wall there. He's grabbing some more SCVs and telling them to build more. That's good. His army's standing out in the middle of nowhere, which is definitely a traditional problem he has in his play, is he doesn't, like, he can lose an army, they can have a huge army, he can have next to none, and he can just leave his shit standing in the middle, unsieged, like, rather than behind his wall, and he does this all the time. So it's definitely a habit we want to try and break. Overall, like I said, all I want out of this game, I don't want to win. I don't want to win. I don't give a fuck about winning. What we really need more than anything is we need to try and just get down that, linking up the structures, coming back once in a while, and then adding the add-ons. Let's go. Yeah, I wouldn't mind 3 reactors. What's he going to do, though? Why is he not? He doesn't have gas. Oh, all right. Okay.
Ready for
And like he's added 1 gas on his natural, but not the other one. Like, why didn't he add both at once? You know, this is the sort of haphazard thing I want to break him out of the habit of. I don't care if he thinks he only needs 1 gas like now and wants to add the other later. I don't know why these SCVs haven't been transitioned out. Grab about 16 of those.
Your upgrade's done.
Gangway coming through.
But yeah. So trying to remember that armory is something he's going to have to just get better at over time. Combat shields is now on the way.
Your add-on's done.
Yeah, like the way he put dudes on this gas, and then, you know, he's going to have to remember that gas later on.
You need more supply.
Yeah, these problems repeat themselves a lot.
Your SCVs are under
John
attack.
Prince, thank you so much for the 1,000-bit cheer.
This better be good.
No, dude, I mean, the thing with Precision is he's a great aggressive player, so I expect him to play far below his level when I make him focus on the macro, but it was his choice of saying, hey, I want to play a bit more macro focus, I want to play a bit more slow and steady. And the thing is, if he can just improve at this stage of the game, like the players he's playing, he can just overwhelm them. Even though he's not really, he's not really doing too much stuff earlier on. He does need to get a little bit better at managing big armies, of course, to make the macro pay off. But we'll get there. You know, things like his upgrades just never queuing up. Obviously, the armory being slowed down there. This missile turret placement is very weird. It should be like turret, turret, turret. But yeah, like these turrets are super random. Like that doesn't defend your mineral line. Mutas can stand there, kill the gases. So that's a little bit weird. As Mutas come back into the meta, he'll naturally get better at that.
The hell? I don't know how that happened.
accidentally. Yeah, he doesn't have his army control grouped right now. That's a real shame. That definitely hurts.
Ready to roll out.
So like he's adding a starport now because he's thinking about broodlords from that earlier game. That's not important. He's also adding like a random barracks.
Additional supply depots required.
Let's have a blast.
So you just added a random barracks in the main? Remember, let's try to add 2 or 3 barracks at once out front our base somewhere in the open in a nice neat row is more important.
Mineral
Oop.
field.
SCV ready.
Sorry, I was watching from your camera, so I didn't see the army until you did. So I'm like, you should focus on building some barracks. Ah, there's fucking banelings everywhere. Nice distraction from the coach there. Comes in at the opportune moment to distract you, right as the Ling Bane's flooding in. That's my job.
Who wants some? Gangway coming through. It's go, 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 go. This better be good.
Yeah, shame those tanks weren't down there and sieged up. So definitely something we can steadily work on over time is always having our tanks sieged up. Because we do have a little bit of an issue with often kind of leaving our units just build up at way out front in the center with no tank siege. But we're trying to just learn the macro, and we did a much better job this game so far. So one of the big problems we've had though is we've forgotten our upgrades all game. So the armory got delayed by the muta harass earlier. Also, after the harass, we always forget to put guys back on gas in that main base. Remember when you grab the SCVs and send them back, you should all in one go. You should have said, everyone go to gas, deselect 3, everyone go to gas, deselect 3, click on the minerals. So that's something which we can just kind of work on as we get back. For now, he's got too much shit. Like, he's got 3, so his upgrades are just way out of control. But, this is one of these cool things where today we got to play someone who's quite a few hundred MMR above us. And I didn't realize at the start that, you know, he hasn't been playing much lately, and he was kind of listening to exactly what I was telling you to do in those first games, and I was like, oh, okay, no wonder he's so prepared. So it was definitely not about winning these games, but we picked up some amazing things here, which, you know, I mentioned it last week, was we're not adding barracks in groups. We started to do that in this game, the engineering bays. But we need to take it a step further. So let's tap out of here and let's get focused on what you want to do going forwards.
I noticed
Yep.
the biggest problem was that it was keeping up with spending my money.
Yeah, because you're kind of doing things in a different structure, it's going to disrupt your macro cycles a little bit, right? Because you're trying to remember to do things a bit differently. But we're also still forgetting to do little things. One of the big ones is queuing units up after building the barracks to the engineering bays. Because we weren't doing that, that cost us a lot of actions going back and forth and doing that. As we do this more and more, you're kind of learning a new rhythm almost. Like, this is almost like a completely new build. I mean, it was a new build at the start of the day, but it's almost like completely new even now after this last game. Because it's like, okay, we've got to add those 2 barracks. One goes on the reactor, one goes just on the ground and has to add its own reactor, okay?
Yeah, I forgot the missile turrets too for those mutas. And
well, and the thing is, what would naturally happen as we get better at that build is you would have had 2 medevacs out clearing creep and stuff before those mutas came out, and you probably would have spotted it with the drops. You would have had a bit more preparation and stuff. So it's something where naturally we'd already be a bit more on the offense and kind of putting more pressure, and he'd probably be slower at getting his mutas out. We'd have a bit more control as we get this down. But I think really if we can just remember like this, oh, I put down gases, and there'll be a trigger in your head saying come back in a little bit and put dudes on those gases. You know, your third base, we still just built 1 gas. So then we had to come back later and build the other gas. Waste of time, waste of actions. Like, just those little things make such a huge difference. You know, oh, natural wall is finished. Those 2 SCVs immediately go and start walling off the third base, even as the third command center is floating down, right? And then those guys keep queuing up. It's like, just building these little habits where we're linking these actions up more. Whereas the first 2 games, what did we see? You would have an SCV builder in your main building depots, in your natural building depots, and at your third building a wall. The amount of APM you've got to waste to try and keep building depots in 3 different locations is insane, right? So we were drowning in our own disorganization. And I was making the comparison to Twitch chat before. I was saying to the stream, I've seen a lot of Zerg players who do this, where if they don't inject all at once in a row, they kind of like, they're trying to just keep up with spending their money and keeping their lava production going, and they never catch up. And it feels like they're always one step behind, and their opponent's the one who's always taking control of the match. And that's kind of where we're ending up here. And obviously, this is awesome practice because we're not focused on being aggressive at all at the moment, right? I mean, we could very easily not even do this weird cyclone opening if you want to make things even easier for yourself. As it is, I think I'm fine for you to keep doing it. But you could easily just go 6 Hellions and just like build a tank for safety or whatever, you know, like, and go into it. It doesn't matter. What's more important is focusing on linking your barracks up, cue the SCVs back to mining, link up the engineering bays, link up the gases. And if we can do that efficiently, I mean, we saw it in that game, the second game against Hypersova, you could have rolled him because we won that fight in the middle against the Roach Hydra army, but we just needed to like get a few more reinforcements, wait for our 2-2, and then push again. And instead, we didn't have any tanks in the fight, and our 2-2 was just before it finished when he cleared our army, and that was where we fell behind, and he got the time to get up to Broodlords and that sort of stuff. And the thing is, why is that so invigorating, knowing that you could have won that game? Because your build order wasn't well executed. You were still figuring it out as you went. It was a bit all over the place. You didn't do any real good pressure. You kind of poked across. He had a ton of roaches and you just had to run away. So it's not really us having to micro our asses off. If we can just improve the macro portion, we will be able to get some wins on the ladder. Absolutely. And then once we're more comfortable with the macro and being a bit more organized with this big 3-base setup, if you add in even little bits of pressure throughout the game to slow your opponent down, even just little pokes here and there, suddenly you're like, oh, I just have like a way bigger army than him. And that's going to be really cool. We can really start to develop our big army management with this style as well, because everything's really culminating in a big push. And that's going to be fantastic. But I think realistically, let's keep working on this build, focus on those macro tasks. And I want that to carry over to your other matchups as well. Try to always add extra barracks at a time. Try to not just grab random SCVs and go, oh, what should I put down? And this organization in your build is going to give you so much more consistency because it's always bam, second and third barracks down, engineering bay down, bam, bam, bam. And you're going to have a lot more actions free up because your production is going to be finishing earlier. What I mean by that is you've got 5 barracks fully done, fully pumping, all your upgrades on the way. Oh, cool. I can just rally units and focus on attacking now, or I can maybe add 2 or 3 more barracks and then focus on attacking. But you're getting up to that point much earlier, whereas you've never experienced that. In all the games I've watched you playing, we've watched replays together, you've always been adding 1 barracks, going back, adding a tech lab, adding 1 barracks, going back, adding a tech lab, even in the midst of the fighting. So you've never had the real enjoyment of saying, my macro is done for this game. I've got 3-base production. I never need any more than this. Maybe I'll add a Ghost Academy. Takes me 2 seconds, right? Like that's it. All you need to do is at that point is just focus on your army. Whereas you're used to getting kind of pulled halfway between the two. Whereas in this case, it's like finish your production, get your shit up, and then put all your focus on your army. So naturally, you're going to get way better at big army control because you're not having as much attention pulled home once you get good at this macro side of things. So getting good macro is going to result in us having much better big maxed out pushes. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, if I had those 5 tanks too, I probably could have held that first push he did. That was.
Oh yeah, if they were all sieged up, just kind of spread around that area, those banelings would have got wrecked, man. That would have been sick. Awesome, man.
I feel it's you know, that build was slowly coming along, but it's like, it's such a different thing for me that it's like a lot all at once.
Yeah, especially because Cyclones are so micro-oriented, so we're not really getting to like fiddle with the fun element of, hey, look, we're picking off a unit or two because we're focused on the macro. So like, stick with it, and a week from now, or 10, 15, 20 games from now of you practicing this build, you'll suddenly like mix in being annoying with those Cyclones, and it'll start to feel like, oh cool, we can really see, are these Cyclones worth it or not, you know, or we can really disrupt our opponent. So I think it's a cool build. We're totally changing up the way you play. It's a brave thing to do. Stay focused. Remember, some days you're going to feel like you're bashing your head against a wall. Have confidence in the process. You'll go to sleep, you'll wake up the next day, and you'll play 10 times better. Sometimes you just need to sleep on it, and like everything you've been working hard to get into your muscle memory the day before will just come into your play naturally after a night's sleep, because that's when your brain really absorbs stuff. So just have faith in the process. You'll get there with time.